Stop what you're doing because the Detroit Pistons are dealing with a problem that could quietly sabotage their entire season before it even gets a real chance to take off. We're talking about turnovers, careless mistakes, bad decisions, empty possessions that don't even end with a shot attempt. And as simple as that might sound, that one flaw alone can be the difference between growth and disaster, between development and another year of disappointment. Right now, all eyes are on new head coach J.B. Bickerstaff. He walked into one of the most difficult jobs in the league, turning a struggling, young, inconsistent roster into a disciplined, competitive basketball team. He didn't just inherit a team, he inherited a problem. And that problem is ball security. This isn't just a small concern. This is a flashing red siren going off in Detroit. Because here's the truth. If the Pistons don't get their turnover issue under control, it won't matter how much raw talent they have. It won't matter how many future All-Stars are on that roster. And it won't matter how bright their future looks on paper. You cannot build anything solid when you keep giving the ball away. So today, we're breaking down why Detroit's turnover problem is far more serious than most people realize, how it connects to player development, why it forces J.B. Bickerstaff into some brutal rotation decisions, and what this team truly needs to change if they want to move forward instead of staying stuck at the bottom of the league. Turnovers don't just show up in the box score. They don't just hurt a team's efficiency rating. They kill momentum. They drain confidence. They demoralize players. They frustrate the crowd. They give the opponent fast break opportunities and easy points before your defense can even get set. One turnover can lead to a dunk on the other end. Two can start a run. 3 or 4 in a short span can completely change the direction of a game. And last season, Detroit was one of the worst teams in the NBA at protecting the ball. That wasn't an accident. It wasn't bad luck. It was a combination of inexperience, poor spacing, lack of discipline, and players trying to do too much on their own. Now, on a young team, some mistakes are expected. Development isn't clean. Growth isn't linear. Players make bad reads. They force passes. They dribble into traffic. That's part of learning the game at the highest level. But there's a difference between normal growing pains and destructive habits that get repeated over and over again without correction. And that's where the danger zone begins. When young players constantly turn the ball over, they start to press. They start to hesitate. They start second-guessing passes they used to make confidently. Or worse, they start trying to play hero ball to make up for previous mistakes, which only creates even more turnovers. It becomes a vicious cycle. You've got guards trying to fit the ball into windows that don't exist. You've got wings driving into 2 or 3 defenders with no escape plan. You've got big men catching the ball in traffic and rushing decisions before the defense even fully reacts. Every possession starts to feel rushed. Every play looks slightly out of control. Instead of patience and execution, it turns into chaos and improvisation. And all of it lands on J.B. Bickerstaff's shoulders. He wasn't hired to be just another friendly development coach who lets players play through everything, no matter how bad it looks. He was brought in for discipline, for structure, for accountability. He has a reputation around the league as a coach who demands focus, expects effort, and is willing to make uncomfortable decisions if it means building a winning culture. That means his first and biggest test doesn't come down to scheme or play calling. It comes down to trust. Who can he trust with the basketball in their hands when the game is on the line? Who can he trust to bring the ball up the floor without panicking? Who can he trust to make the simple, smart play instead of the flashy, risky one? Those questions are going to determine this rotation. Bickerstaff is looking at a roster filled with potential, but potential doesn't protect the ball. Upside doesn't prevent turnovers. Athleticism doesn't equal good decisions. Only discipline, repetition, and mental focus do that. And not everyone is ready for that responsibility at the same time. So now he has to decide, do you give heavy minutes to the young players with the highest ceilings, even when they make costly mistakes? Do you let them play through it in the name of development? Or do you shift minutes toward more reliable, lower variance players who might not be as exciting but won't sabotage possessions? This is where coaching becomes more art than science. Because every decision he makes sends a message. If a player turns the ball over 4 times and still stays on the floor, what does that say to the rest of the team? If a young guard gets benched after 2 bad passes, does that motivate him to lock in, or does it crush his confidence? There is a fine line between discipline and discouragement. But here is the harsh reality. If Detroit doesn't draw a firm line somewhere, the turnovers will never stop. Bad habits will become part of the team's identity. And once a team develops an identity of sloppiness, it is incredibly hard to erase. Winning basketball always starts with valuing each possession. That's why great teams don't beat themselves. They force you to earn every basket. They don't hand you opportunities. They don't beat themselves with unforced errors. They play with patience. They understand that every possession is precious. Right now, the Pistons don't play like that. Right now, they play like a team in a hurry, a team still figuring itself out, a team trying to skip steps in the process. And Bickerstaff's job is to slow the game down for them mentally. That means simplifying the offense, especially early in the season. The Pistons don't need flashy sets or overcomplicated plays. They need clarity. They need defined roles. Players should know exactly where they're supposed to be and exactly what their first, second, and third options are. When players hesitate, turnovers happen. When players are unsure, turnovers happen. When 2 players think they're responsible for the same action, turnovers happen. Clarity eliminates confusion, and confusion is the biggest cause of unforced errors. Another major change needs to be accountability. On winning teams, turnovers have consequences. Not just a bad look, not just a coach shaking his head, real consequences. Lost minutes, reduced roles, adjustments to responsibility. And it doesn't matter who you are on the roster, rookie, veteran, starter, or bench player. The rules must apply to everyone the same way. That's how trust is built. That's how respect is earned. If a player is careless with the ball, they should expect to spend some time on the bench watching the game. Not as punishment, but as education. Because sometimes the best way to learn is by seeing how the game flows when you're not the one disrupting it. Great habits are built through repetition, and bad habits are broken through discipline. That's the culture shift Detroit desperately needs. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean the Pistons are doomed. In fact, it could mean the exact opposite, because the fact that this problem is so obvious also means the solution is very clear. This is fixable, this is coachable, and this is something a team can improve quickly if everyone buys into the mission. The Pistons have talented players. They have size, they have athleticism, they have skill. They have young guys who want to prove themselves. All of the pieces of a strong future are sitting right there. But talent without control is wasted. Talent without discipline is chaos. Talent without decision-making is just potential that never gets realized. If J.B. Bickerstaff can get this team to value the basketball, if he can reduce even a handful of turnovers each game, the effect will be massive. Fewer turnovers means more shot attempts. More shot attempts mean more chances to score. More chances to score lead to more confidence. More confidence leads to better defense, more energy, and ultimately, more wins. It all starts with that single choice: take care of the ball. This could be the turning point in Detroit's story. If Bickerstaff makes the right rotation calls now, if he rewards discipline, if he holds every player to the same standard, and if the young core responds the way great players are supposed to respond, then this season won't be remembered as just another rebuilding year. It could be remembered as the foundation of a new era. But if the mistakes continue, if the lessons don't stick, and if the team refuses to change its habits, then Pistons fans may be looking at another long, frustrating, disappointing season full of what could have been. And nobody in Detroit wants that. So now, I want to hear from you. Who on this roster do you trust the most with the ball in their hands during crunch time? Who needs to seriously cut down on their mistakes? And what changes would you make to this rotation if you were in Bickerstaff's position? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk basketball. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth NBA breakdowns. Because trust me, the decisions made in Detroit right now could change everything.